Welcome to my channel. Improve your English skills through stories. Listen.
Making love. In the past, in Truong Gia Loan, there was a family with the Truong family, thousands of plots of land, donkeys and horses in droves. But there was only one daughter, who grew up to be extremely beautiful, named Lan Huong. One day, Lan Huong was sitting in the embroidery room upstairs and suddenly saw a young scholar walking on the street outside the wall. She stuck her head out to look closely and saw that the young man had a broad forehead, a square chin, and looked extremely handsome. Suddenly Lan Huong was captivated. Her eyes kept staring at the boy, her face kept turning red, her heart was beating, thump, thump. Speaking again, the young scholar walked to the front of the building, looked up and felt a pang in his heart. He saw a beautiful girl looking at him. The boy was also stunned and lost. The two of them secretly glanced at each other, looked at each other for who knows how long before they parted ways. From that time on, every day the student walked around in front of the building, and Lan Huong also kept paying close attention to the boy. The days are long and the months are long, and when two people don't see each other a day, they feel sleepless at night, food has no flavor, and even when walking on the road, they feel drowsy. Although the two had not said a word to each other, their eyes spoke a lot every day. Normally, Lan Huong thought to herself, "You are a person who reads books and writes literature, but being so poor, your father would never agree. But no matter what, if I choose a husband in this life, I won't agree with anyone, except you, I won't marry anyone." But those were just words in my heart, I couldn't say them to my parents, and I couldn't even confess them to outsiders. Lan Huong only felt resentment in her heart, and as time went on, it turned into a mental illness. All day long she didn't think about food, couldn't sit still, and her body became weaker and weaker every day. That night Lan Huong sat alone in the room, her eyes staring blankly at the lamp. Suddenly the room door squeaked, and a girl around 17 or 18 years old walked in from outside. Lan Huong saw this and asked in panic,
"Who are you? What are you doing here so late at night?"
The girl smiled and said,
"Miss, don't be afraid. I am the fox fairy in the flower garden behind your house. My name is Thursday Huong. I see her sad and unhappy all day long, her face frowning, and there must be something in her heart. As long as you let me know, tonight I can help you solve your worries and reduce your sadness."
Lan Huong then told Thursday Huong how she had fantasized about the young man. After listening, Thursday Huong considered and said,
"Lady, think about how rich your family is and that scholar is so poor. Your father's eyes only like to look so high. This friendship cannot be achieved in 8 generations. If you two want to make love, I have a way. As long as you follow my instructions, success is guaranteed."
After speaking, Thursday Huong immediately looked around to see if there was anyone there before moving closer to Lan Huong. The two people put their heads next to the lamp and whispered until after midnight. The next day, Lan Huong lay flat and did not get up. Telling her to wear clothes she didn't wear, calling her to eat, she didn't eat, sometimes calling her sick, sometimes nauseous. When the foreign minister heard the news, he was very scared. As soon as Lan Huong said that she was upset, her parents were already in pain. This time, Mr. Truong quickly sent the servant to invite a doctor. After a week of tea, the servant finally invited the doctor to come. Grandmother Truong looked and saw that this doctor had almond-shaped eyebrows, soft skin, and was dressed like a scholar. Mr. Truong brought the doctor to her daughter's bed. After checking Lan Huong's pulse, the doctor just smiled slightly without saying anything. When he got down from the female floor, the medicine man told Mr. Truong,
"Your lady is not sick, she is good news."
When Mr. Truong heard this, he felt so angry that he wanted to die. As soon as the doctor left, Mr. Truong scolded his wife and asked,
"How did you manage your daughter's alcohol to let this embarrassing incident happen? Isn't this forcing me to wear a mask to meet everyone?"
Hearing that, the old wife also became angry and blamed her old husband.
"It's your fault. Over the past few years, so many boys have come to our house to propose, and he's always criticized this one for being poor. And the other for not having a good name, being picky, and forcing her to grow up like this. People don't say, big girls shouldn't keep it, keeping it over and over again leads to resentment. Isn't this just keeping things from happening?"
The old couple blamed each other for half a day, then Mr. Truong angrily told his old wife,
"Don't you even bother to ask who it belongs to so you can count it."
The old wife did not dare to delay and hurried to her daughter's room. It's better not to ask. As soon as she asked, Lan Huong only said, yes, and then threw her head into her mother's arms and cried. The mother coaxed Lan Huong until she said,
In recent days, every day there has been a gray-bearded old man who would crash through the door in the middle of the night and run in to sleep with me. As soon as the rooster crowed, he would get up and run away.
Her mother heard that she was both scared and upset, so she comforted her daughter a few words and then hurriedly went downstairs. After listening to his wife's story, Truong Vien just known that his daughter was possessed by a demon. He thought for half a day and then suddenly told his wife.
You quickly found a large roll of thread and threaded it on a needle, giving it to Lan Huong, telling her that when the old man came to haunt her again tonight, she would secretly take that needle and thread it on his clothes. Tomorrow we'll follow the thread to find out what that monster is. His wife immediately did exactly as her husband told her. The next day, before dawn, Truong Vien used a lantern to check the door of her daughter's room. Sure enough, there was a black thread pulled through the crack in the door.
He followed the thread all the way to a large cave next to the willow tree next to the fish pond behind the flower garden. As soon as he looked, he said,
It turns out you are the one who committed the crime.
After that, he called a few workers to cut the tree and uproot it. Even the roots were dug up and gathered together. They planted peach branches on all four sides and then poured oil to light the fire. Soon the willow tree burned to ashes, but Lan Huong's sadness could not be erased. Her parents discussed until midnight but could not find a good way. The old wife said,
Huong's father, we don't have to worry about anything, things are like this now, there is only a difference between good pots and bad pots and bad pots. I think that the days are running out. We had to quickly find a husband for her, now no matter how rich or poor, ugly, beautiful, good or bad. Whatever, we have to push that debt away. In the future, Even if something as big as the sky happens, it will no longer be our business.
Mr. Truong extrapolated and thought about it. The next day, the sky was bright and he had not yet woken up when he heard someone calling at the gate. Opening the gate, it turned out to be matchmaker Vong Ba Ba. Vong Ba Ba entered the house and shouted,
"Dear brother-in-law, in our village there is a poor student named Lieu. Up to now, he has not poured anything into the pot. Yet last night, he sat on a dead tree, broke its branches, and took root in my house until midnight. He just asked me to ask his brother's Ms. Lan Huong for him. He really is lying in bed dreaming about the heavenly palace, wanting to eat wild goose meat, really not knowing his own strength. I don't want to stay and tell him about this, but I'm afraid he'll take a risk. Dear brother-in-law, your family has a daughter from hundreds of families coming to ask. This has no effect. Please don't take it to heart."
Just then, his wife heard it and secretly winked at her husband. He cleared her throat and said to Vong Ba Ba,
Older boys get married, older girls get married. Our Lan Huong is no longer young and has to be married to someone else. Today you came to talk about this, my wife and I both agreed. You went back and told this Lieu guy that he was poor and I didn't care. If he didn't have money, he didn't have to worry. I would give him the money he spent, just tell him to clean the house and choose a good day to organize the fun celebrate this.
The matchmaker was so happy to hear that. Later, the matchmaker ran back and forth a few more times. A few days later, the Truong and Lieu families became married. After Lieu and Lan Huong got married, the young couple was deeply in love and full of happiness. A year passed. Lan Huong gave birth to a son who was both white and chubby, making the whole family so happy that they couldn't keep their mouths shut. Having a son requires a name. The young couple thinks that the two of us should be lovebirds, not because Thursday Phuong has shown her talents as a healer, a runner, a postman, a thread spooler. How can we? Forgot her gratitude, so he gave his son the name Ta Thursday, meaning thank you Thursday Phuong. Meaning story. Making love is a Chinese fairy tale expressing the desire to decide the couple's happiness through the love story of Lieu and Lan Huong.
Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe to the channel to learn more useful knowledge.